let's get to Cleetus McFarland. News come out today. We had to push everything aside because I knew it was going to be breaking news. Cleetus McFarland has signed a 3-race deal to drive for Richard Childress Racing in the O'Reilly Racing Series. Big surprise, no surprise.
2-year deal.
It's a 2-year deal. My understanding is Cleetus McFarland is only going to get paid $1 for his efforts in this deal. Big deal, no deal.
I'm confused. You said 2 year. I thought I could have swore you said 3-race deal. So what is the exact deal?
So 3-year deal, 3 races a year.
Yeah.
I hope. Well, one, my wife week 1 when she heard Cleetus, she was all about some Cleetus. Now week 2, she was upset to find out that Cleetus wasn't his real name. So she's kind of upset. So I'm hoping maybe that she'll be back on board, knowing Cleetus has got some rides coming up. I hope he does well. I hope that he performs in a way that causes RCR or somebody else to say, you know what, let's get him on the track some more. Not only is he a fun driver to watch, and I know that's probably not the right reason, but when you got somebody got me rolling talking about I didn't check myself before I wrecked myself, you know, when we're watching Follow the Leader week 1, or we're watching everybody strung out and nothing really going on in week 3 racing, week 2 is really only track we really had a lot of movement. You needed some kind of other entertainment, and Cleetus week 1 was that for us, at least in the truck series. So I hope that he performs, that he is getting a more of a deal. I think it's good for NASCAR. I think having some personality. We've not had a lot of personality in the sport. It's been more vanilla. You know, we once you lost your Tony Stewarts and your Kevin Harvicks, and you kind of lost any really personality. Even Rowdy has really brought it down. So we really don't have a lot of personality.
I was going to say the only personality you're talking about is like villain wise. I mean, we had Chastain for a bit, and
was that about 2 seasons ago at this point?
Yeah. So you had
we need something at this point.
With Kyle Busch from JGR to RCR, that's where he brought it down. So you got that point. Hamlin was the big villain up until last year, and Hamlin was starting to bring flavor back until he started becoming the championship favorite. Everyone's pulling for this guy, and then he had the whole family mishap.
We need Cleetus' personality, and it doesn't affect like just raw, not okay, you're a bad guy until you start winning and now we're pulling for you. Or I understand what you're saying, but this gives us a personality that nobody cared that he took himself out of the Truck Series race early in week 1. Like, we all are still waiting to see him back on the track. Like, that kind of personality, not, you know, everybody else is kind of based off, you know, Kyle Busch doing the bow if he wins, or Denny Hamlin doing the boo-hoo-hoo when he, like, that's, we need something that it's raw. I don't know how to explain it. It's different, and that's, I think, we need something other than having to count on whether or not you're the good guy or bad way based on how you perform, or whether or not you've been in NASCAR for 6,000 years and you still ain't won a championship, so everybody switches and wants you to win and not be the bad guy no more. Like, you know, that's just as much flip-flopping as we get in the WWE these days. So like, to have a raw personality that everybody's kind of pulling for, and the eyes that he brought in the Truck Series race, I know I'm just all for it. Like, I really hope that he is able to put some kind of performance so there's more possibilities. Just like this Jordan thing is a good thing for the sport, I think the Cleetus thing could be a good thing for the sport, and continue to get these numbers back to what we used to know and we used to see, in the stands being full, and having personalities like Jordan, having personalities like Cleetus. Maybe we get another person or two throughout this next year or two come through the ranks that bring some personality. Maybe we can start getting, like, I don't know, I just don't feel we have that movement like we once had with you had the Intimidator. You know, I've been watching a lot of Mo racing and a lot of old school, and it's just like There was just these movements. There was just these personalities. Like people still cheering for 3 after 20 years. Like we don't got none of that. And I think that Cleetus could be something to help start and regenerate some kind of movement in NASCAR where fans are there to and just on this bandwagon and loving the personality versus whether or not it's a villain and whether or not it's a sentimental thing at the time.
Yeah, he's definitely there to be exploited, guys. There's no doubt about that. I do believe that this is a PR move similar to what we've seen in the past with Danica Patrick and some other drivers. There's some of us that really think and feel like this is a little bit too fast, a little bit too much, too fast, and probably racing with the wrong guy. Like I would definitely have rather seen him over at JRM versus Richard Childress, because we see what happens when you go to Richard Childress. Your career dies. Ask Kyle Busch. Whether and Richard really had no problem at all telling everybody in his press conference that that this guy is eyes for marketing and he's going to bring a lot of eyes to the television and whatnot. But now I watched Cleetus on Kevin Harvick, the speed program that they have, and Cleetus said, look, I mean, I've never had eyes on me like I do in NASCAR. And I shared you guys the video of his personal video announcing that he was going to the O'Reilly Series, and within 3 hours it had 271,000 views. There's no doubt this guy is very popular. As Miss Sharon said, Cleetus is more positive than Hamlin's negative side. I mean, come on. This guy is really good for racing, and he's bringing the eyes to the television. I'm not ashamed to say I asked Taz to make sure that he put Cleetus McFarland in our description because I know that people are searching his name, and that's going to be, hopefully they find our show searching about what we have to say about Cleetus McFarland. And I want Cleetus to be successful, and I love Cleetus, and me and my son, we watch all of his shows and all of his YouTube videos. I wasn't, I'm a late bloomer, I guess, with it. I did hear about what was going on in 2020 and 2021. It was really after the hurricane issue when him and Greg Biffle teamed up together that I really started getting into Cleetus. Like, I heard about the Freedom Factory. I seen what he was doing there. I kind of had my opinions on the whole Crown Vic stuff because, the amount of money and stuff that they were trying to turn the Crown Vic races into and whatnot. And, it's just kind of aggravating to throw that kind of money towards it. But I'm not sure that Cleetus had everything to do with that as well. But he was involved in the Crown Vic creation of those series and stuff. So he was a big part of that. But since that time, and I got to see the real character. And then when he was at Talladega last year and drove the buses, the campers down in Talladega and auctioned them off and gave the money to charity, by then I was sold that, hey, this guy, he really does. He really has a passion for our sport. He's bringing our sport to a positive light. He's good for the sport. He's helping young people find out about NASCAR. And that was my big seller because I may have been late to the table, but I have 3 sons, and none of them were late to the table. They were like, Dad, you are late. You have missed out on all the cool stuff that Cleetus has done over the last couple of years. And I'm just worried, that he's going to be exploited and not be taken serious as a race car driver. I hope that if his time in RCR is for real, that he gets plenty of simulation time, plenty of time to get up to speed. You ran a truck race, you wrecked in 5 laps. I know you learned a lesson, right? But Xfinity, there's more on the line there than it is. And we're going to get to see him at a mile and quarter oval is what Rockingham is, something like that. So maybe it's a 1 mile racetrack. I think Rockingham maybe is just a 1 mile racetrack. But either way, we're going to see him on a smaller racetrack, a smaller venue, and we'll be able to kind of get a little bit of a learning experience underneath him. I was most concerned about live pit stops with the truck series at Daytona, and we never got to see that because, of course, he wrecked, I think, 5 laps into the race. But
he did run the ARCA race that same weekend.
And look, if you followed his in-car camera, dude was popping out 300,000 views on his in-car camera. I mean, it's unreal the type of views that Cleetus McFarland is getting, the eyes that he has brought to the table with his platform. And so it's a good deal, but What I'm fearful of the most, and I'll reiterate this one more time before I pass the baton, that if we exploit this guy and he goes face first into the concrete, just as soon as he hits the wall, similar to Talladega when Chase Elliott wrecks or Dale Earnhardt Jr. wrecked back in the day, fans start leaving, and those fans that were clicked in no longer have interest, and that's going to be a fine line of keeping him in a competitive spirit. That way we can keep those new eyes on the race. Now, I'll give it to my son, my youngest son, who, probably he falls in that 14-year-old category. Even though Cleetus wrecked at the truck race, he did not step out of the room. He actually finished watching the truck race at Daytona. There again, that's a super speedway. So I hope that people do stay engaged. And, like I said, this kind of feels like going to RCR, something similar to Danica Patrick. We're just kind of rushing them up through. But I'll pass the baton to you, Taz Taylor, and let you put in your comments.
The only thing I know you raised a concern, but I'm raising a concern as well, and it's not the same thing that you're thinking of. My concern that I'm raising the flag for is I know Cleetus has a huge following and does all these things for Freedom Factory, does all these Crown Vic, Ford Ranger type races every year. The only thing that, and I understand he's getting his feet in the door more and more with NASCAR. My concern is, will we see the same if he gets into NASCAR more than he is now? Say if he does well in these 6 races in the 2 years. And go back to what Mr. CJ said in terms of getting more track time, teams bringing them in more. Where does Cleetus draw a line in between him running with NASCAR and also focusing on Freedom Factory? Or does he kind of have to say, look, I have to step away from one to do another? And I think for me, if I were Cleetus, I would just keep running these one-offs or these 3-4 races a year type deals. Only because Freedom Factory, he created and built Freedom Factory to what it is now. And the fact that him and his team also revived what was formerly known as, I think it's DeSoto, is what it used to be known as, DeSoto Speedway. And now it's a track that a lot of places go to. And it's not just hosting Cleetus's events. It's hosting other races and series too. You have late model races there. You have some sort of modified races or another truck series that runs there, short track truck races. There's other series and things that run at his track. So I'm kind of concerned of where does the fine line draw for Cleetus in terms of trying to, keep NASCAR and Freedom Factory on a balanced level playing field, or does he have to give one up to do the other? That's my concern with that. But I think with Cleetus running with NASCAR and everything, I like the personality draw he has. I like the fact that he has a huge following that's going to bring into NASCAR. And I will say this, I'm glad he's running the O'Reilly series for RCR, because it seems like that's the only time RCR is successful in NASCAR in modern day history.